the last house on Maple Street. What happens when you dare to knock on the door of a cursed house? In the quiet town of Eldridge, the legend of Clara lingered like a shadow. She was a recluse, living alone in a decaying house at the very end of Maple Street. The townsfolk muttered about her, sharing stories of how she spoke to herself, vanished into the woods at twilight, and was last seen staring blankly from her porch just before she disappeared. They said her house was cursed, a place where shadows moved on their own and voices whispered through the walls. Children dared each other to run up to the house and knock, but none stayed long after dark. The air around it felt heavy, as if holding its breath, waiting. One chilly autumn evening, 4 restless teenagers, Jake, Sarah, Mia, and Ethan, gathered around a bonfire. The flames crackled, their laughter mingling with the distant rustle of leaves. When talk turned to Clara's house, a challenge was issued. Go inside, take something as proof, and make it back before midnight.
Easy.
Jake boasted, though his voice wavered.
I mean, it's just an old house. There's nothing there.
Sarah hesitated, biting her lip.
People say you can still hear her. Like she's still there. Waiting. Scared?
Mia teased, though her eyes darted nervously towards the dark silhouette of the woods beyond.
It's just a story, right?
Fueled by bravado and the thrill of a dare, they set off, their flashlights bobbing in the night as they approached the house. It loomed out of the darkness, its windows like hollow eyes watching. Weeds and ivy choked the porch, and the paint peeled away in ragged strips. As they reached the sagging steps, the door slowly creaked open, revealing a yawning darkness inside.
Did you do that?
Ethan whispered, his bravado faltering. Jake shook his head, swallowing hard.
It's just the wind.
They exchanged uneasy glances but pushed forward, stepping inside. The air was cold and thick, carrying the scent of mold and something else, something faintly sweet, like rotting fruit. Dust motes swirled in the beam of their flashlights, and the house seemed to groan in protest as they moved deeper inside.
We should split up.
Jake suggested, though his voice was strained.
Cover more ground?
Sarah's eyes darted around, the dark pressing in on her.
Are you sure?
It'll be quicker. Just look around and grab something small. We'll meet back here in 10 minutes.
Reluctantly, they agreed. Ethan headed towards the parlor, Sarah to the kitchen, Mia to the living room, and Jake took the stairs, his heart pounding as the steps creaked under his weight. In the kitchen, Sarah's flashlight flickered, casting jittery shadows across the dusty counters. The air felt stifling, and she noticed something odd. The table was set for dinner, plates and silverware arranged as if expecting guests. Her stomach clenched as she saw that each plate held a small, decaying bouquet of flowers. She reached out, brushing a petal, and it crumbled into black dust.
What the hell?
She whispered, backing away. Upstairs, Jake found himself in a small, dimly lit study. Shelves lined the walls, filled with dusty books and strange trinkets, a collection of broken dolls, old photographs, and jars filled with cloudy liquid. On a rickety table, an old diary lay open. His fingers brushed the brittle pages, revealing Clara's elegant handwriting.
They come at night.
He read aloud, his voice barely more than a whisper.
I can hear them whispering through the walls. They want to take me. I must hide. Before they find me.
A chill ran down his spine as a sudden thud echoed from the hallway, followed by a faint, almost imperceptible scratching sound like nails scraping against wood. His breath caught in his throat as he swung the flashlight towards the door. Nothing. Just the darkness, thick and heavy, pressing in.
Guys, I found something.
He called out, his voice shaky. In the living room, Mia stood before a shattered mirror, her flashlight catching a reflection that didn't quite match reality. For a split second, she saw a figure standing behind her, a gaunt woman with wild hair and eyes that seemed to glow faintly. She spun around, heart hammering, but the room was empty. The only sound was her own ragged breathing.
Hello?
She called out, her voice trembling. Silence answered her. Ethan, in the parlor, was staring at a faded portrait of a woman. Clara, he assumed. Her eyes, dark and hollow, seemed to follow him as he moved. He reached out, brushing his fingers against the canvas, and the surface felt strangely warm, pulsing faintly beneath his touch.
This is so messed up.
He muttered, pulling his hand back. They regrouped at the base of the stairs, their faces pale in the dim light. Jake held up the diary, its pages yellowed and brittle.
We need to leave, now.
But we haven't even...
Mia began, but was cut off by a loud crash from upstairs, followed by a soft, eerie humming that drifted through the house like smoke.
Well, let's get out of here.
Sarah whispered, her voice tight with fear. They turned towards the door, but it slammed shut with a deafening bang, the sound reverberating through the house. Panic seized them as they rushed to the door, pulling at the handle, but it wouldn't budge.
Who's there?
Mia called out, her voice shaking. Silence. Then the humming resumed, closer now, wrapping around them like a cold embrace. A voice, soft and melodic, drifted down the stairs.
Come to me, my Gilles. Come to me, my Gilles.
It sang, sweet and haunting.
I've been waiting for you.
Their breaths came in shallow gasps as the song seemed to seep into their minds, weaving through their thoughts like a spider's web. Jake's flashlight flickered, the beam catching a glimpse of movement on the stairs, a shadow slowly descending, one deliberate step at a time.
Run!
Ethan shouted, his voice breaking. They stumbled back, their feet tangling as they fled down the hallway. The walls seemed to close in, the air growing thick and suffocating. The song grew louder, more insistent, the voice now almost pleading.
Don't leave me. I'm so lonely.
Jake's heart pounded as he grabbed Sarah's hand, pulling her towards a door at the end of the hall. It swung open to reveal a small, cluttered room. A window, half-boarded and smeared with grime, offered a glimpse of the dark yard outside.
Through here!
He shouted. Mia grabbed a broken chair and smashed it against the boards, the wood splintering with a deafening crack. One by one, they squeezed through, the jagged edges scraping against their skin. Jake, the last to climb out, glanced back just in time to see the figure at the window, its eyes burning with a desperate, aching need.
Come back. Come back. Come back. Come back.
It whispered, but its voice was drowned out by the pounding of their hearts as they raced across the yard, stumbling over roots and weeds, their breaths ragged and shallow. They didn't stop running until they reached Jake's house, collapsing onto the porch, gasping for air. The night was deathly still, the house on Maple Street now just a dark silhouette against the sky. None of them spoke. They didn't need to. The horror of what they had experienced was etched into their faces. That night, they lay in their beds, the memory of Clara's voice echoing in their minds. It was a haunting melody that seemed to seep into their dreams, twisting their sleep into restless, feverish visions. Each of them woke in the dead of night, drenched in sweat, certain they could hear soft footsteps outside their windows, a faint humming just beyond the glass. And though they never spoke of that night again, each of them knew, deep down, that the house at the end of Maple Street wasn't just a legend. It was a warning, a place where shadows whispered secrets and lonely spirits yearned for company. Some doors, they realized, should remain forever closed. But if you insist on opening them, be warned. The darkness that waits beyond may never let you go. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, leave a kind comment and subscribe for more. Smash that notification bell so you don't miss the next story from Creepy Chronicles HQ. See you in your dreams.